Hi, Dwayne.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm delightful.
Perfect. Welcome to this interview, and thank you so much for showing up today. I'm really excited for you to be here and to share your wisdom, to share your vision, and just being present and being yourself. That's already so powerful. And I'm
Thank
excited for women, the community of women, to hear from you and to learn from you, and just to experience your wisdom.
well, this is definitely the time for the return of the divine feminine. So it is happening everywhere. Even men are coming into their own balance with masculine and feminine, right? So it's
Hmm.
a wonderful time right now.
Yeah, we can all sense it, right?
Yeah.
So today we would like to focus on a very, very important for everybody, I guess everybody can relate, theme, which is romantic love and relationship between women and men.
Hmm.
So, and it would be wonderful if we could look at this topic from two perspectives, from the perspective of divine being, as we're all divine beings, spiritual beings, and also from the perspective of your human experience of how it's, you know, feels to be human, to be a man, and having this experience. On planet Earth, having this game of two polarities, feminine and masculine, and how it also embraces our humanity, that we're human beings, physical human beings. So it would be great to integrate these two, and they're all together. Of course, it's the same at the end, but through the life, we're experiencing like more connection or less connection between these two aspects. So that would be great um, to hear your version, your perception, and go through all these amazing questions that actually women brought up, that this is what they want to hear.
Oh, good, good. Okay, I'm ready.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So the first question, because I've been following your work for a long time, and you've been a source of inspiration for me, and I see you as the luminary of the truth. Like you bring us back to remembering who we are, and coming back to our power and creating our reality. And there's so much attuned with who I am and what I'm doing in this world. So
Mhm.
the first question I would like to ask is more like on the global level, but I feel this is a good way to start, and then we go back to more like being human.
Okay.
So what is this your vision about this game of polarities, feminine and masculine, here on Earth, and how is it what we're supposed to learn and what we're supposed to experience through separating us and like feminine and masculine in this world, in this reality?
Well, um, of course, as thought lowering itself into light and then from light into mass, we split. We split into the what you would call masculine, feminine energies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so originally we were a singularity. And then as we lowered vibration, we split into this for this experience, to have this experience of being able to see, touch, and experience ourself. So it's really source experiencing source, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the highest level, right? And in the original. But then we got curious. We got curious about what things are, and we got curious about fear. We got curious about different things. And we started to move. So the original polarity is actually the split at that point. And then from there, other experiences took place, like the curiosity about fear, the curiosity about, and we got kind of, for a while, got lost in this aspect, right? So from the highest point, lowering vibration and splitting into two, a male and female, the first experience was just to experience each other. I mean, for the first time, we could in physical form could touch one another, could see one, could hear the voice, could experience each other on this. It was very beautiful, right? But then, as we got curious about things, we started lowering vibration, right? Curious about other things, we started to lower vibration and experience other things, and more separation happened. So actually, the reuniting is actually the end of duality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at a certain point in our relationship and looking for and finding relationship, at a certain point, opposites no longer attract. We come back into the original law of polarity and it's like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's been a dissension happening, and what we're looking for and everybody's craving for is that original relationship again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to experience oneness again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wholeness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So does that answer that question?
Yes, yes, totally.
Okay.
And I think now I would like to move to how do you connect it with the experience of being born as a human and being born as a man? How was the experience for you of being a man and rising and reaching up to your divine? And what is this gap in between these two? Because originally, we don't have, as a spirit, we don't have like a gender. There is no separation. But then, like being born in the human body, this is when we experience to be a man or a woman, and how this experience was for you, and what was challenging, to be a man and to be seeing women and kind of on the other side, and what was the journey for you to come back to this oneness and yeah.
Well, my experience was, which I'm a little different this way, because I remember before I came here, I remember even as a child, I remembered before I entered into the womb, basically. I had experiences that I shared with my parents about being at their wedding, and I was the firstborn. So, and they didn't, I wasn't at their wedding, but physically, but I remember being at the wedding. I described it to them, and it kind of freaked them out. And I was kind of this light that was traveling around, and experiencing things before coming in. So when I came in, I was really born awake. And so my experience might be different than other men's experiences, but I was born awake, and I lived that way, awake and in oneness and with source and all of this until I reached the time of going to school. Okay. And then all of that was supposedly wrong, what I was doing before, and I needed to, get into the 3D thing, right? And so that's when I lost, and I, like everyone does, they kind of put away that greater part of themselves, and they take on this societal mask of being in society, right? There's an abandonment that takes place when you go to school from your family unit, and you're in a vulnerable position. So you need to feel safe. So you need to accommodate, you see. And accommodating means adjusting who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all went through this. We had to adjust and adapt. And now all of a sudden we have this critic inside that criticizes us if we're not doing what the societal path is telling us to do. This ultimate relationship doesn't exist in that societal path. The ultimate relationship is outside of the box of that structured reality. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
because it's really when we want to be with the one, we want to be as like a child, where we're looking at each other and seeing the god, the goddess within. And that doesn't exist in the structure of society. So the thing that we're doing a lot of times in relationship is we're going around in circles inside the box looking for this person, which you're not going to find until you step out of the box, until you do your work. And there's some work that needs to be done. It's not long work, it's not arduous work, but you need to do it, right? Yeah. And so for me, I had to go through that work. Okay? I had to go through that work of accepting self, accepting who I was originally coming in here, standing for that, right? As a man, I had to do that. I could never understand as a man why that wasn't invaluable to women at the time. As I was learning this, it was very painful, because it was like I had this to offer, I had this to share. I was respectful. I was all of these things, and I was always somebody's friend, not their relationship. And that, at the time, that really I didn't understand what was going on, right? So these are my personal experiences as growing up and not understanding what was going on. But another thing that we don't understand that's going on inside the box is there's a lot of influence. Many times people won't choose the one they should be with because they should choose the one that everyone tells them they should be with.
Yeah.
A lot of times they build their list out of, this is the person, this is the man, this is the woman, she's got to have this, but they miss the most important part, is the part of, how do you want to feel with a person?
Yes, exactly.
So there's this growing list of all the things that they ought to be, that's got nothing to do with who you really ought to be with on a spirit level, on a heart level, right? So for me, I had to go through that learning. By me going through that learning, I've helped other people make the shortcuts. A lot of shortcuts. You don't have to go through stuff, right? Because in the beginning, I was actually, and there's a lot of people doing this. I do a lot of work in this area where people are basically not knowing, but with the inner child, the child always wants to heal the relationship they had as a young child. So the relationship with mom or dad, right? And what'll end up happening is people will pick that same relationship as a relationship because they want to heal that, right? First of all, maybe our parents didn't see us as the spiritual little beings that we were. Okay, so we want to heal that. So we're really trying really hard to get this partner to see us finally, right? And there's a lot of people that'll pick people that are kind of abusive to them, because their hopes is that they'll finally see me and change. Well, if you take a look at it, it's a carbon copy of what they were experiencing as a child, right? So to do the inner child work really frees people up to be able to make and I had to go through that. I mean, I was still trying to heal a situation in my, and it's a out of your awareness kind of thing. It's the child wanting to finally have that answered in a relationship. And so there's a lot of diversion going on, right? basically. And once that's healed in us, and it doesn't take long to heal it, once that's healed in us, then we can look for the person we really want to be with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that
Yeah.
like I say, that happened to me. So, you know, not being seen, not being valued, all these things were happening to me as I was going through as a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
With women. They didn't value me. They didn't see me, uh, this sort of thing. And when I took a look at what it was and did the work, then I released myself from that. I finally got that answered in me. I finally healed that aspect in me. And then I could move on to really getting beyond that, right? Now, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people are in that frequency, in that, situation.
Mm-hmm.
And with just
Yeah,
a
so
little work, they're
basically,
out of it, right?
ah,
And with just a little work, they're out of it and now looking for the true
yeah, yeah.
partner. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically we all need to heal first. So we can step out of those toxic relationship patterns. This was a
Yeah.
topic that I was sharing with women, and it was very, very popular because everybody has those patterns that we have to
Yes.
heal from childhood, right?
Yeah.
And once we shift that and heal them, then we stop attracting those wrong people and the wrong relationship that, being replayed over and over again. And
Yes.
once we step out of it, this is the free space when we actually can connect on a different level from our true divine self. And
Exactly.
yeah, this is what I see in your work as well. So
Yeah.
maybe you can share with us your experience once you healed that, how it changed externally for you, and how did you meet your soulmate, and how did you recognize her? Just maybe sharing a little bit of personal story, if you don't mind, so
Sure.
women can relate and feel it. How it feels to experience that.
Well, everyone tells you you'll know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back here, when I was going through all of the work and people would say, I'd go, yeah, right. Right. Because I'd gone through different experiences. Right. And it didn't end up where I wanted it to go, like what I wanted. And everyone told you, when the right one comes along, you'll know. Right. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. I believed that at first. And then after a few relationships, it was like, yeah, sure. Right. Like I went through the same things everybody goes through. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then what is it like when you meet the one? Well, it's not hugely out of this world exciting. It's a different feeling. It's a knowing. It's a it's a it's a recognition. It's a deep comfort. It's an exhalation.
Mm.
I met Violetta online. We
Mm.
talked we talked we talked for some time before we actually. Do you know right away? No, I didn't. Neither did she. We didn't know right away, but we kept gravitating towards each other. We'd go away, we'd come back, we'd go away, we'd come back online. And then finally, one day, it was like click. And when it was that click, and we started moving into that direction, you notice that things started shifting and clearing up in your life. It's not as difficult. It was almost like a frequency or a harmony came into your life that started to shift everything around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about, there's a difference to me, personally, between soulmate and this twin flame. I don't even call our relationship a twin flame. I don't call it anything.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's just the one. It's just, right? And so things happen. Things happen. How did I really know? When she painted me a picture of me before I entered into this world.
Oh, wow.
She had the vision. She could see me. When I shared the story once in a video or twice or whatever in a video, she sat down and she couldn't stop herself from painting this picture. And she painted the picture of me before I came into this world. So she could see me, you see?
Wow. Yeah.
And she valued me. And she valued that part of me. She could care less how much money I make or whatever. Care less. What she cares about is that seeing the God within me and me seeing the goddess within her. And then we support each other in our passions, right? So something shifts at that point when you meet that. Like attracts like and opposites repel. If you notice in the universe, everywhere in the universe, that is a law. For some reason, part of the programming in the human condition was opposites attract.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They never did. Right? In the whole of the universe, if you take a look at it atomically, on the point of atoms, cells, opposites don't attract, they repel. Right? And so we're out, human beings at some point are out of alignment until they come into alignment with the law of polarity, which is like attracts like. So if you can imagine what it's like to be in a relationship where the two of you are on the same page, the two of you are dancing the same dance. So there isn't conflict. There is a harmonic flow that's happening because your passion is her passion is your passion, and we support each other in that creation, right? Mm-hmm. So we look at each other and we see the God within and the goddess within, and we support that. There's no arguments. There's no fight.
Yeah, that's amazing. Beautiful experience.
There's no domination. There's no submissiveness. But there is. And it flows back and forth either way. Because in order for me to meet my twin, I had to, as a man, I had to accept the masculine and the feminine in me.
Mm-hmm. In me. That's another very important topic, that we all have both, right? Because they don't teach us that. We never learn that from anywhere else, but then we discovered it inside. And finally, this knowledge is coming back to us, that we all have the wholeness inside in both aspects. So maybe you can share a little bit more about that.
Well, in accepting the masculine, I mean, I first of all, the whole concept that in 3D of masculine and feminine is warped, and there was a reason for that, to divide humans, to divide male and female. You see, everything is divided in division, right? Mm-hmm. And so to keep that going in that genre, they had to devise ways to divide men and women. And so we have, men saying certain things about women. Women are like this and this and this in 3D. And then we have women saying, and men are all like this and this. No, they're not, No, they're not. Neither one is all like this. That's just something they're projecting. It's coming through TV. It's coming through television programming to program you to follow a certain uh, path about how you should think about women and how you should think about men. But when we get into the divine masculine and the divine feminine, this is a different thing. This is outside of everything that's being presented to you, right? And in accepting the divine masculine and feminine within me, I accept the fact that I cry. I accept the fact that I have feelings. I accept the fact that I love to express creativity. I love to express healing. You see, these are the divine feminine, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aspects. I also have the divine masculine that is the protector, that can be fierce when need to be, that is very aligned with truth and source, right? And holds that, right? Like in some of my pictures, you see me standing there, and I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing for humanity. I'm not standing for me. I'm standing for humanity because somebody needs to stand and say, this is truth. This is truth flowing through to you from source energy, right? Align with it, right? So that's the masculine part. The feminine part is a part of me that again is soft, that loves pets, kitties, and you know what I mean. I can go there. I can go to the child. I can go to the masculine. I can go to the feminine. I do all kinds of things creatively. So it's being able to accept that within yourself. Also to love yourself as a masculine and as a feminine, right? Because we are both. We come from both genders. We are both genders.
Yes, totally. I totally agree with that. And I've been wondering myself also about, we have both inside of ourselves, but physically in this realm we are born and represent certain gender. What is that? Is that means that, does it mean that this particular gender, for example, if you're a man, is it like there are sort of dominating in or more activated form versus like feminine, or is it just a game of playing with it? And we both, like, even in the relationship, we both can take both roles.
Yeah, it's get comfortable with taking both roles. In my relationship, I'm dominant at some points, and then Bilal is dominant in some points, right? And it's to get away from who's supposed to be what, and just be it, right? Because the more that we flow into this frequency, of each other, and releasing and letting go and realizing there is no archetypes. None. It's source energy expressing itself through you, right? Source energy expressing itself through you as source energy. And so there is no supposed to be's. It is what's unfolding, and it's beautiful, right? And I don't get, oh, you're dominating me, and get upset, whatever. And she's not like, oh, you left the toilet seat up, I'm gonna, divorce you. Like, people will go into really crazy things just because they're not with the one they're supposed to be with. Period. They're not satisfied. They haven't hit that frequency yet, right?
Yes, I believe it's so valuable to hear that, because women who, for example, even men who never met their soulmate or like twin flame or the partner who have this frequency and they share this and being on the same page, as you said, for them, it might be sometimes easy or difficult to imagine how, it can work and how you can feel, So we can connect to this place through imagination, which was I've been teaching in my community. But also it's very valuable to hear from somebody who actually experienced it in real life, which can validate any imagination that you can have doubts about, right? People have doubts about what they imagine and they've never experienced in physical reality. So that's, I believe it can be really grounding to hear that.
Well, you know me, it's all about the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
The thing of it is that what you think is so 3D, you're imagining that too. That table in front of you is not solid. It's actually atoms moving to create that illusion. You've been trained that that's solid.
Mm-hmm.
You trained that this 3D reality is so solid, but it's just because you've been so conditioned to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's just, so your imagination is what is creating the solidity in 3D. We have this little thing, where we're afraid to step out onto the precipice and realize that there's nothing in front of us, that we have been creating it all along. Do you know that scientifically they can't prove that tomorrow exists?
Mm-hmm.
They can't, because it hasn't been created yet by you. And instead of a collective, we have to think about this, instead of a collective concept, it's a singularity concept. You're the one, I'm the one. The people that are listening here need to get that you have a unique relationship with source energy, and anything goes in that relationship. Anything goes. You can create with your imagination any way you see fit. That was part of the programming back when we were children, you see. When we hit school, they started to deprogram you from using your imagination. In fact, I've heard people say, when I mention imagination, they go, oh, well, that's just imagination. Like it's a dirty word. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
before the word imagination was born, there was another word for it. It was called faith.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the faith that something can happen. Well, you have to have the imagination. So when I work with people on healing, even healing, right? If you can't conceive where you're going, if you can't build it with your imagination, guess what? You aren't going to heal. And that I have studied this so deeply that anyone that imagines, no matter what modality they go through, as long as the modality holds the fact that they can see themselves healed, they'll be healed. Why? Because it's all about you anyway. It's all about what you say can happen or not happen. So the imagination plays a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
We should really give it a new name. Because there's so many negative connotations to the fact of imagination. It's supposed to be, oh, it's just imagined.
Excuse me. Yeah, totally. And I love how you connected it with faith, because I believe faith, it is totally imagination, and this is how we create the reality. If we trust ourselves and our imagination, that actually creates faith. That's what faith is.
That's what faith is.
Yeah.
Imagination is actually a portal outside of the box. The box tells you, and this is the box that they've programmed you through television and every society and everything else, that this is the parameters of what a human being can do. And the imagination is a portal outside the box, right? And so as you start to use your imagination, you start bringing in outside the box, no matter whatever it is, outside the box is pure magic. It would appear magic to the people in the box because they're not accustomed to things happening so easily or swiftly or whatever. But really, it's it's letting go of the confines of that box, right? So when they tell you that relationships are hard, you have to, do this and you have to do that, you know what I mean? If you believe that, then it will be.
Yeah, totally.
If you believe that opposites attract, and then you're in this tumultuous relationship and they'll tell you that these are lessons that you have to learn, I say bullshit. It's not. All it is a game to keep you preoccupied so you don't step out of the box and actually experience a true relationship. There is no lessons. There's only expansion. Expansion of you and your relationship with source energy. I had mentioned to you that there's two things that human beings are deathly scared of. One is enlightenment. They don't say it. They'll go for it. They'll learn about it, but they try to divert from it all the time. When you call your own bluff and you say, this is what I'm doing, I'm avoiding enlightenment. Okay? And the second thing is that humans are deathly scared of is true love. Because if they find true love, if they find that true love, right? Well, guess what? It's all over. Now, what am I going to entertain myself with?
No purpose anymore.
That's what it would appear. But there's a whole other beautiful thing happening here when you step, and both those, true enlightenment, true love, is the same thing. Because what you're doing is you're reenacting the original thing that happened to source energy when source energy came out of the void and it looked inside of itself and it split into two because it realized it was alone. It was by itself. And so it looked inside, and when it did, it split into two and it said, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. I was so alone before you came.
Wow.
Let's experience what I am, what we are. It didn't say thou shalt not do this or that or this or that. It said, wow, let's go create, right? Let's have fun. And when we come back into that original relationship with self, when we look at our partner and we go, wow, good morning, you're here. Let's go create, right? You know?
Yeah, that's amazing feeling. I already feel when you share it, I feel the vibration of that experience, and I'm sure everybody who will watch this interview will feel that. So this is what is valuable to feel, how it feels, because we can create all these images in our mind, but they're dead if there is no feeling.
The reason I'm bringing it is so that people can imagine it, because as soon as they imagine it, then they're going to start moving into it. You see, we can talk all day about 5D, but if there's no feeling of what 5D is, well, people can't step into it because they feel they've never been there, but yet they have. And as soon as we start talking about the freedom of 5D or the concepts of being in fifth dimensional reality, right? Fifth dimensional relationships, what that's like, people start feeling the feeling of it. And when they feel the feeling of it, they're manifesting it, right? Because manifestation only happens with feeling.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And remember, you're manifesting yourself every day. You're manifesting who you are every day. So if you want to achieve that sort of relationship, you just start manifesting that. See yourself in that relationship. That beautiful song. So what is the day like? I create and I work with clients and I help them transcend into higher vibration and releasing the things that they, that stops them from experiencing why they're here, what their mission is, why they're doing what they're doing. And Violetta is painting. She's painting pictures of transcendence, of remembering the child within. She's painting pictures. She's writing. We're both in this creation together, and we play off each other and with each other in this nobody has any roles in the house, you know. I was a bachelor for quite a long time. I know how to wash dishes.
I'm sure you do.
I know how to cook. I know how to do all these things. And so we don't have these gender roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
We play back and forth. Sometimes she cooks and washes the dishes. Sometimes I cook and wash the dishes. Sometimes I cook and she washes the dish. We don't. And you know what? If I leave the toilet seat up, she just puts it down.
So you never have any fights or any arguments?
Why? We love who we are. We love each other. Why would we fight? Why would we look for something to cause turmoil?
Do you have like any disagreements on the like practical level or just everyday life? Not fights, but if you don't share the same vision or opinion?
Sometimes we may have a different opinion of how, you know, say for instance, I was saying that we're looking at building the house, right? And so maybe the style or the thing, you know, I've always wanted a log house or a log cabin,
Mm-hmm.
or a log, and she's always loved rock.
Uh-huh.
And so can we compromise? And we don't get lost in the idea and go, oh, wow, you're taking this away from me. I've wanted this my whole life. And nobody's being submissive either. We're looking for combined something that both of us can have what both of us love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, combining rock and logs.
And logs. Yeah.
And that can be a very beautiful design.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I have another question for you that some of women ask me. So if we believe in soulmates, do you believe in just one soulmate or twin flame? I know like we're all one, but in the level of human life, like for example, I have a client who she had a soulmate and he died, and she was alone for like 3 years, and at some point she started to question whether she has an opportunity to be happy again and be in a relationship. So I'd like to hear your opinion about it, because you know it's a big thing, you know. She's like still a young woman and she still has these desires to be in this divine relationship. So what would you recommend and how do you see this?
So soulmates are one aspect, and then this other one, the twin or the one or the divine relationship. So in soulmates, a lot of times what we're hearing a lot of is this you're learning from each other, you know what I mean? There's this going on, and then we cross the threshold into another where like attracts like, where like it's a divine relationship. Okay. So what my my personal advice would be for this person is that they met their soulmate, and yet there is another one. I went through quite a few experiences in my life with different women, right? In my life, relationships that didn't work out or that left or whatever. But as I moved to another, this level is that we'll always be with each other no matter what, you know. You see, both of us understand, Violetta and I, that that we're not the body.
Mm-hmm.
I am that looks through my eyes. I have never been born, nor will I ever die. I am eternal. And we love that part of each other. And so that transcends physical form. And I'm thinking so the soulmate is kind of like we're coming together as soulmates and experiencing, whereas there's another level for this lady yet, and that she ought to go explore it, right? And I think that her soulmate would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once
Yeah.
we cross over, it's a little different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We continue life journey, and just
Mm-hmm.
being open whatever it brings, and
Mm-hmm.
you never know. I think what I feel is the human language creates distortion. Is trying to label the experience, like for example,
Yeah.
feel a bit lost between like, oh, there is only one soulmate, or there is a like tribe of soulmates, or there is a twin flame, and they get lost in navigating those spaces because it's like, again, it's great separation, and it's create like labels, like what should I choose, you know, this or that, but at the end it's all one. And if we step out of that box of labeling, this is where the truth comes forward, right? This is what I hear also from you.
Yeah, I don't call it. I mean, people like to categorize it. There is no name. There is no name in my books for what I'm experiencing now. There's no name. Right? It's in the nameless. I like that it's in the nameless. I don't want to call it anything, because then once you call it, right, then there's and when you go out and you look, there's so many things talked about with soulmates and different versions of people's ideas of what that is. And then, you know, twin flame came in years ago with this is the one. And then corruption came into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, well, there's this, and you can have multiple twin flames all at one time, and all this stuff, which just diluted it completely. No, it's, if you want to come into the sacred is simply looking into the eyes of your partner and seeing the God and the goddess within. And it's that original relationship of hello that happened with source energy in itself. You know, and they say a lot of things about, you know, source energy needed its own reflection to exist. And so there's some people that say you don't need a relationship, you should be like source energy, and you don't need it. Well, source energy needed its own reflection to exist. You need your own reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we need to pull out of that energy of conflict with each other and come into celebrating the God and the goddess within in a joyous way. That every morning, there's no problem every morning getting up and saying, hello, I see you, you know, I love you. You know, it doesn't get old.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah, that's beautiful.
but I had to let go of identification as a man. You know, I had to let go of a lot of things. You know, people have preconceived notions even about themselves as a feminine. So they get married, and all of a sudden, now this is what's expected of me as a married woman. No, it's not. Who said that? You and your partner make up your own dance. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. And I went through that too, because when I was married, and I've been married and divorced. And when I was married, there was these preconceived notions in my head about what a man should be
Mm-hmm.
as a husband in a relationship, right? As a husband. And it was more about my own, and her own preconceived notion of what she should be. A lot of times I'll bring couples together and I'll say, she says you're not doing enough of this and doing enough of that and whatever. She says that's what you're saying. And he goes, I don't even care. I just want to love her. I just want to be in love with her. And then the same thing the other way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the preconceived notions we put on ourselves that's most damaging, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a relationship, so this means I must do this and that because my mother did it and my grandmother did it, and you know what I mean? And so we need to really let go of all of these programs and just be ourselves.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. So what do you think about marriage? Does it have any value for you, or it's all social like stamps and social labels that we give to each other?
Again, yes. And so we have different levels of it, right? A sacred marriage, yes, I believe in that. But done in the intent that we're planning on doing that. In the intent that it was, it is meant for us, right? What does it mean? I mean, as far as marriage and being uh, devoted to each other and these things. I mean, once you hit this level, that's just a no thing. Of course you're going to be, right? And it's not something that is controlling or anything else. It's just, it's simply, it doesn't even come into mind, right? Wandering or whatever, you know what I mean? So all of this is I'm going to say more lower level stuff that people worry and concern about. Once you hit a level of sacred relationship, right? You wouldn't do that. I mean, once you hit this goddess, God within, and your source energy, loving source energy, right? All things are answered in that.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
On that
Instead
level,
of like a bell, avoiding marriage, and still it doesn't have too much value for me. So it's I believe it's an internal act, the sacred marriage. It's
yeah,
internal between two people, two
yeah.
souls. Yeah.
It happens all automatically. It happens anyway, that marriage. To do it externally uh, for yourself, I mean, that's personal preference. But you're
Mm-hmm.
already married when you go there. It's married in a sacred level, right? In that sacred source energy level. You're already married. And so then it just moves to, now, do you want to do it as a fun intention for each other? Do you want to do it that way? And we may.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It doesn't feel wrong to me.
Yeah, it's totally like personal preferences, but it's
But
you want
it's
to
not
make.
it's not ownership.
Mm-hmm.
It's not at all ownership. It's not ownership, because it's fully free, uh this relationship to, I mean, if it, say for instance, she no longer wanted to be with me, she wanted to be somewhere else, I just love and allow her, right? I've been through it enough that I just love and allow her. I know, right? I would never want to hold anyone in enslavement, right?
Yeah.
And she the same with me. But in that, we surrender to each other, right? And so the marriage that we're thinking, or the union that we're thinking, isn't about, here, I put a ring on you, now I own you. That belongs to a different vibration.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no
totally.
ownership. Yeah. When we're about celebrating each other's, supporting each other's passions and each other's gifts, and you know. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful, amazing. I can feel it when you share.
Yeah.
So maybe you can give some recommendations for women and maybe men if they watch this, uh, who are single and who are looking for their soulmate. So how can they transition from this place of conditioning and labeling and being in box to step out of that box and finally allow themselves to experience the divine relationship, divine marriage?
I'm going to suggest that they need to get sometimes they need to get some work done, right? They need to let go of some of these patterns that they've had set up, where, you know, where they're looking for, to heal that original wound and actually get it healed, right? So they can move beyond that. That's an important aspect in the journey, right? And coming into their own, as far as source energy, coming into their own. I've done this work with the God consciousness, awakening. That's the God goddess within, awakening the God goddess within. This is important to recognize that you are this source energy. This is going to take you out of the box, and out of the box is where you're going to find that. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I'll have to share with you that in some of it that was happening with twin flame was that people would say, that's my twin flame, and they don't know it yet. No, that's stalking. That's not twin flame. That's stalking another person. Like, the
Mhm.
thing is that you need to be able to come into your own love of self, right? And realize that person out there, if they're not with you, right? It's
Mhm.
not because it's not time yet or anything else. It's because they represent something to you that you want to own. Maybe they represent the thing that you want to heal. The truth is that there's none of that goes on, chasing and all of that, and trying to convince somebody that they're your twin and all that. None of that goes on. Basically, you sit with truth, and the truth is, they're walking away. They must not be, because when you meet the one, there is no walking away. It's
Mhm.
this, and it's, let's move forward, right? So a lot of people are diverting themselves with this. They're really deep down, they're afraid of their own intimacy, and so they'll chase somebody rather than be with somebody, right? And so these things need to get cleared up, right? So that you can meet your one, right? Now, some of the things that I'm saying are going to not go well with people because they like to chase.
Mhm.
But I'm just being honest. I can only be honest. From what I've experienced and what I've seen in life, especially around this twin flame thing, I used to get tons of emails on that subject.
Mhm.
Hmm. And people asking
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and I feel so many people are looking for that and have this deep heart longing. And um, from what I hear from you and what I know from my own journey, that it's happened first. It happens inside. This
Yes.
click that, oh, I know who this person is because it's me, you know, like you
Yes.
said, divine consciousness is looking at
Itself.
itself. Yeah. And then from that place, there is open space of infinite possibilities of how can it unfold. And, you know, it's the most exciting adventure is actually to be open to receive it, because, you know, we can't, sometimes we have our own imagination, but then when we allow things to happen, then we can be even surprised of what is possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Keeping the
Yeah.
beginner's mind, this the child who's looking at the world with this fascination.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is that, you know, I may not have mentioned in this is that, you know, Violetta and I are absolutely childlike,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely childlike. So, and, you know, for us, I mean, that's a very important part to be all, all levels. So absolutely childlike and be the adult and be the creator and be, you know what I mean, to be
Mm-hmm.
all these levels. So owning yourself and owning all the levels that you are. And we spend a lot of time in the childlike with one another. It's just playful and fun, right?
Yeah, this is what we're meant to experience, some fun here.
That's right. You know.
We forget about it sometimes.
That's
Put lots of agenda there.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I'm on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anything else you'd like to share and give some more inspiration or guidance for all the seekers who are watching this interview.
Just, you know, go within yourself and love who you are. Um, First, love who you are, and know that someone is there because you're there. Okay, because you're here, so are they, right? And loving who you are will take you there. Connecting with source energy will take you there. Uh, Loving both aspects of you will take you there. Healing will take you there, right? Your journey, your journey is presented to you through working with yourself, right? And think about what it will be like to be with somebody like that. Not somebody opposite of you, someone just like you. Same passions, same, and dancing in that energy together, right? Because that's the call, that's what will bring them. So if we're still sitting there thinking that we have to fight with the opposite sex and all the defend and do all these things, you're not there. Yeah, you know, because practicing that will only bring more of that. Right? I have to go to the next level. And if people want assistance, I'm available to them for assistance with the inner child work or clearing up any of the blocks that stop us from being our own source energy. You know, I'm here for you too. So
Thank you so much. This is amazing and inspiring for me, and I'm sure for all the women and men who will watch it. And yeah, it's also the energy of it. It's not just the words, because, you know, human language can't completely express the truth, but what I believe it's how you say things, and just feeling that presence and connection that you're, you know, channeling from yourself, from your divine self. This is the truth, and we can feel it. So
okay.
thank you so much. It was like an honor and a pleasure to do it, to have this amazing interview with you. And I hope we'll do more, because I love your work and there are so many dimensions, right, to explore.
And I love
Yeah.
And I love you as well. And I love your work. And I love what you're doing because you're aligned and you're powerful and you're on point. You know, you don't lead people off in unneeded journeys. You're on point, and I really appreciate that about you. I always have.
Thank you, Dwaine. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right. Have a great the rest of the day.
You
Enjoy.
too.
Shine your light into the world. This is amazing. I'm really happy to know you. And thank you for today.
And thank you for
Hope to
interviewing
see you
me.
soon again.
Yes, will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.